Natalie's day began just like any other, except for the low hum of apprehension that always accompanied her to the boutique. She was the manager, the person tasked with upholding the store's pristine image of luxury and exclusivity. For nearly a decade, she had prided herself on maintaining what she called the perfect atmosphere. The boutique itself was an architectural marvel of polished floors, gleaming glass shelves, and light classical music gently piped through hidden speakers. Walking from the front entrance to her office felt like gliding through a private world. The perfume-laced air, the strategic lighting, the hushed voices of staff welcoming high-end clients. It was a tapestry of elegance. And in the center of it all was Natalie, a poised woman in her late 30s, always dressed in sleek, impeccably tailored outfits. She carried a certain authority in her posture that staff members both respected and feared. As she passed one of her sales associates, Diana, Natalie paused and asked in a whisper, "Have you realigned the new collection's display case? Everything must be perfect." Diana nodded, swallowing hard. "Yes, Natalie, I'll do it right away." A curt smile flickered across Natalie's lips before she continued her inspection. The boutique's philosophy was simple: protect the brand image at all costs. Natalie's personal creed went further. Only those who embodied a certain, refined aura should feel truly welcome. She firmly believed that not everyone was deserving of the luxurious experience her store provided. Tourists in shabby clothes? Window shoppers with no intention to spend? In Natalie's eyes, they were intruders who diluted the exclusivity she worked so hard to maintain. Late that morning, she was alerted to the presence of a customer who looked distinctly out of place. One of the newer associates rushed over to Natalie, flustered. There's a woman by the new handbag section," the associate said, eyes darting nervously. "She's dressed very casually." Natalie frowned. "Define casually," she demanded, suspecting an unwelcome presence. The associate stammered, "Worn sneakers, old jeans, a sweatshirt. Not the kind of customer we usually cater to." Natalie's gaze hardened. She thanked the associate, dismissing her with a wave of the hand. Moments later, Natalie discreetly surveyed the security monitors from her small office. Indeed, there was the woman in question, rummaging through the boutique with an air of calm curiosity. She wore faded jeans with frayed hems, simple sneakers that had seen better days, and a gray sweatshirt emblazoned with the word faith. Everything about her attire screamed wrong place, wrong time, in Natalie's mind. Natalie straightened her blazer, took a deep breath, and decided it was her responsibility to handle this personally. If she allowed such a customer to wander freely, it might damage the boutique's ambience. Or so she believed. Stepping out of her office, she made her way across the polished marble floor. Her heels clicked with brisk authority, a sound that often foretold quiet intimidation. Approaching the woman, Natalie let a polite yet distant smile spread across her face. "Hello," she said coolly. "May I help you find something?" The woman looked up from a shelf lined with designer scarves. A small, pleasant smile curved on her lips. "Oh, I'm just browsing," she replied, her voice steady, even friendly. Browsing. The word always made Natalie bristle. Browsing meant taking up space and time without any guarantee of a sale. Browsing meant the store might be treated like a free museum. Nonetheless, Natalie forced her best customer service tone. "We do ask that our guests handle items with care," she said, gesturing at the scarf the woman had lightly touched. "Many of these are quite exclusive." The woman nodded. "Of course. This is all very beautiful," she said. She seemed genuinely appreciative, glancing around as though absorbing every detail. Her demeanor was polite, and yet there was a hint of unwavering confidence in her eyes, something that Natalie found unsettling. Typically, people who didn't belong here would show signs of discomfort or timidity. But not this woman. Natalie pressed her lips together. "Is there a particular piece you're interested in?" she asked, scanning the woman's ensemble with open disapproval. "I can recommend items more suited to your style, perhaps." She made sure to emphasize the final words, implying that maybe the boutique wasn't the right fit. The woman's smile never faded. "I appreciate the offer," she said gently, "but I'd rather keep looking on my own for now." There was no defiance in her tone, just calm assurance that she had every right to be there. "Thank you," she added, her eyes steady on Natalie's. At that, Natalie exhaled a small sigh. She couldn't figure out why, but the woman's self-possession grated on her. If she was simply a curious window shopper, shouldn't she feel intimidated? Apologetic, even? For a moment, Natalie debated calling another associate to hover nearby. But she decided to keep watch herself, convinced that she needed to ensure this unexpected visitor didn't disrupt her meticulously curated environment. Before she could ask another question, the boutique's front doors swung open. A tall figure, casually dressed yet exuding unmistakable charisma, stepped inside. In that fleeting second, Natalie had no idea her world was about to turn upside down. His footsteps seemed to ripple through the store, as though everyone's attention was magnetically drawn to him. The man was Keanu Reeves, recognizable to anyone who'd ever seen a blockbuster film in the last 2 decades. Clad in dark jeans and a black jacket, he carried himself with an effortless grace. The store's usual hush took on a new intensity, a collective holding of breath. Natalie's immediate thought was excitement mixed with alarm. A star of his caliber was exactly the kind of high-profile client her boutique prided itself on, but the presence of the casually dressed woman lingered in the back of her mind. This was not an ideal scenario for making a stellar impression. Keanu Reeves scanned the room briefly, then his gaze landed on the woman in the sweatshirt. A wide smile overtook his features, and he strode forward with purpose. Natalie watched, her brow furrowing in confusion. As he approached, the woman turned, and her own face lit up. To Natalie's disbelief, the two of them greeted each other with an embrace as though it were the most natural thing in the world. The woman stepped back, still grinning. "I was wondering how long it would take you to catch up," she teased softly. Keanu's response was equally casual. "Traffic was worse than I thought, Alicia." Then he glanced around, taking in the ornate setting. "Wow, this place is definitely fancy." At the sound of her name, Natalie's ears perked up. Alicia. She had never heard of her. Yet here she was, familiar enough with Keanu Reeves to greet him so intimately. Natalie's thoughts raced. Was Alicia a friend? A relative? A significant other? Regardless, it was clear that her casual shopper was anything but ordinary. Swallowing, Natalie summoned her best smile and approached the pair. "Good morning, Mr. Reeves," she said, her tone carefully measured. "We're honored to have you in our store. Please let me know if you need any assistance." Keanu turned to face her, a polite but reserved smile on his lips. "Thank you. I'm just meeting Alicia here." Alicia, for her part, nodded in acknowledgement. "Yes, we're looking around." Her voice was calm, revealing none of the tension that Natalie felt. "The store is beautiful," she added sincerely, "though I haven't had much time to see everything yet." Natalie tried to maintain composure, but 1,000 questions buzzed in her mind. If Alicia was important enough for Keanu Reeves to visit the boutique, what if she had misjudged her entirely? Worse, what if her earlier frosty reception was about to cause real damage? Sensing a critical juncture, Natalie opted for a more welcoming approach. "Allow me to guide you through our latest collections," she said, gesturing toward a row of mannequins draped in shimmering evening gowns. "We just received exclusive pieces from Milan. I'm sure you'll find them captivating." Alicia exchanged a glance with Keanu. "Sounds interesting," she replied, though there was a subtle note in her voice that Natalie couldn't decode, somewhere between polite intrigue and mild amusement. Natalie led the pair across the polished floor, stopping at an elegant display of designer gowns. She launched into her practice spiel. "These are handcrafted by some of the world's leading designers. This piece, for instance, features hand-stitched floral embroidery with crystals embedded to catch the light just so." She watched Alicia carefully, hoping to see some sign of awe or at least admiration. But Alicia's expression remained calm. She ran her fingertips over the fabric, her eyes studying the detail. "It's lovely," she said. "I'll think about it." Natalie cleared her throat. "If you'd like to try anything on, we have private fitting rooms in the back." She attempted a congenial smile, as though the morning's earlier tension had never happened. Before Alicia could respond, Keanu chimed in softly, We're still just browsing, but thank you. He then turned to Alicia with a teasing grin. You mentioned needing something special, right? Alicia paused, eyes lingering on the gown. I did, but I'm not sure if this is the style I want. She mused, then shifted her attention to Natalie. Do you have something a bit simpler, yet still elegant? Natalie nearly sighed in relief. This was her chance to prove she was more than just a gatekeeper. She was a knowledgeable curator of luxury. Absolutely, she said, leading them to another section of the boutique featuring less ornate pieces. These dresses are refined, made with premium fabrics, but carry a more understated charm. As Alicia lifted a soft pink dress from the rack to examine it, Natalie briefly allowed herself to breathe. Maybe she had dodged a bullet. If Alicia ended up purchasing something, and if Keanu Reeves was pleased, then the morning's awkwardness might be swept under the rug. All she had to do was keep everything smooth from here on out. Yet a nagging voice in the back of her mind told her that the situation was more precarious than it seemed. Alicia's outward calm contained a world of unspoken thoughts, and Keanu's observant gaze suggested that he, too, sensed there was more to this visit than just shopping. A staff member caught Natalie's eye and gave a small nod, as though asking, "Is everything okay?" Natalie answered with a curt nod of her own, silently hoping she could steer the course of events to a favorable outcome. But beneath her polished exterior, uncertainty brewed. One wrong word, one condescending remark, and any hope of redeeming her earlier attitude could be lost. Little did she know, the real test of her judgment was still to come. Natalie tried to quell the rapid thumping of her heart as Alicia looked through the racks. Now that Keanu Reeves had arrived, the stakes felt impossibly high. Every staff member discreetly watched the scene unfold, though they pretended to busy themselves with tasks like tidying up or helping other customers. Natalie could see how carefully they moved, trying not to intrude or draw unwanted attention. Diana, one of the senior associates, approached Natalie with a hushed whisper. "Do you need any help?" she asked, eyes flicking toward Keanu and Alicia. Natalie considered the offer, recalling Diana's knack for reading people's tastes and offering suggestions that felt personalized. However, she feared too many staff might overwhelm Alicia. "Just stand by," Natalie replied softly. "I'll signal if I need you." As Alicia slipped from one rack to another, occasionally pausing to admire a particular dress, Keanu asked occasional questions about fabric or fit. The dynamic between the two suggested an easy, natural closeness. Still, there was no mention of who Alicia truly was in relation to Keanu, other than the comfortable rapport that hinted at more than mere friendship. After a few minutes, Alicia selected 2 dresses to try on. "I like these," she said, holding them up. One was a knee-length, minimalist black dress with subtle lace details at the hem, and the other was a flowy, soft green piece that exuded breezy sophistication. Natalie offered a modest, professional smile. "Excellent choices," she said, leading them toward a private fitting area behind an ornate partition. The fitting room corridor was lined with plush chairs and long, gleaming mirrors. Natalie handed Alicia the dresses. "If you need a different size, just let me know," she offered. Alicia nodded, stepping behind the curtain of one fitting room, while Keanu settled into a nearby seat, looking relaxed yet alert. A few minutes passed in relative silence. Natalie hovered near Keanu, trying to gauge his mood, but he remained polite and somewhat reserved. She couldn't help wondering if he sensed the tension from earlier. Did Alicia mention anything about the less than welcoming tone she'd received upon arrival? The uncertainty gnawed at Natalie. Suddenly, the curtain rustled and Alicia stepped out wearing the black dress. Even in the simple cut, she radiated an understated elegance. Keanu's eyes lit up, and he smiled. "That looks incredible on you," he murmured. Alicia turned in front of the mirror, assessing the fit with a serene expression. "It's comfortable too," she noted. Natalie fought a twinge of surprise at how natural Alicia appeared in a designer dress, despite her casual attire from earlier. "Would you like me to get another size?" Natalie asked out of routine. Alicia shook her head. "I think this size is perfect, but let's see how the green one looks too." Returning to the fitting room, Alicia closed the curtain, and Natalie glanced at Keanu. She weighed the risk of addressing the earlier friction. Maybe it was best to acknowledge it, just in case Alicia had already mentioned it to him. I hope, miss. Alicia's experience has been satisfactory, Natalie said, her voice low. We strive to accommodate all preferences. Keanu regarded her thoughtfully. I appreciate your concern, he replied. She's pretty easygoing, actually. But sometimes, first impressions can be telling, don't you think? There was no overt accusation in his tone, yet the words made Natalie's stomach tense. Yes, she managed, I agree. First impressions do matter. Perhaps I came across as too protective of our environment initially. I only meant to ensure the store's standards were upheld. She tried to phrase it politely, but her words felt forced. Keanu offered a non-committal nod, and the silence that followed was heavy. Just then, Alicia stepped out wearing the green dress. It had a whimsical quality, a gentle swirl of fabric around her knees, and a flattering neckline. She twirled once in front of the mirror, smiling to herself. I love the color, she said, glancing at Keanu for his opinion. He gave her a thumbs up. Gorgeous. Natalie mustered enthusiasm. That shade of green really compliments you, she said truthfully. Alicia's smile was genuine. Thank you, she replied, though she didn't elaborate on whether she'd be making a purchase. A comfortable silence settled as Alicia continued examining herself in the mirror. She looked at the price tag, then smoothed the fabric with her hand. I'll definitely get one of these, she announced, as if making a mental note. Just need to decide which one suits me best for the event I have in mind. Keanu interjected gently, you could always get both. His grin was playful. Alicia laughed softly. Well, let's see if I really need two fancy dresses. She looked at Natalie. Maybe I'll ask for your advice. Which would you recommend? Natalie blinked, grateful for the chance to showcase her expertise. Both fit you beautifully, she said, but if you're looking for something versatile, the black dress might be easier to wear for multiple occasions. The green one has a more distinct vibe, fantastic for a daytime or garden event, but it's less flexible for formal nights. Alicia took the feedback to heart, gazing between the two dresses thoughtfully. After a moment, she said, I think I'll go with the black one. She disappeared back into the fitting room to change, leaving Keanu and Natalie standing there once more. This time, Keanu took the initiative to break the silence. I appreciate your professionalism, he remarked, his tone neutral. I know this morning might not have been the smoothest experience for Alicia, but she's pretty understanding. Natalie sensed a subtle warning in his words, but also an offer of reconciliation. She nodded in acknowledgement. Thank you, Mr. Reeves. I truly hope we can offer her, and you, an excellent experience here. For a fleeting second, she wondered whether her apology to Alicia should be more direct. But Alicia stepped out again, now back in her original sweatshirt and jeans, holding the black dress carefully. All set, she said, smiling politely. Shall we finalize the purchase? Natalie felt a wash of relief. At least she'd be making a sale, possibly salvaging the day. Yet deep down, she couldn't ignore the nagging dread that something lingered under the surface, just waiting to surface at the worst possible moment. Natalie escorted Alicia and Keanu to the boutique's main counter, where a sleek black register was surrounded by small displays of luxury accessories. Diana, who'd been on standby, hurried behind the counter to ring up the purchase. The atmosphere felt lighter, as if a confrontation had been narrowly avoided, yet an undercurrent of tension remained. Will that be cash or card? Diana asked, her polite smile genuine but tinged with curiosity. Alicia handed over a platinum card without hesitation. As the machine processed the payment, Keanu leaned casually against the counter, glancing around as though taking in the store's opulent decor. He didn't look particularly impressed or unimpressed, just calm, like a man who'd seen enough of the world not to be dazzled by price tags. A beep signaled the transaction was complete. Diana carefully packed the black dress into a protective garment bag, placing it into an embossed boutique bag. Thank you for your purchase, she said softly, offering Alicia the bag. Alicia nodded with a smile. Thank you. I'm sure I'll enjoy wearing this. Natalie stood a short distance away, arms lightly folded. She was thankful for the sale, yet uneasy. Something felt unresolved. Was it the ghost of her earlier attitude, or the fact that Alicia hadn't once mentioned how she was treated upon entering? That question was answered when Alicia turned to Natalie, her voice pleasant but pointed. "I'm grateful for your help, Natalie," she said. "Sometimes it's good to see how people react when they're unsure if you belong." For a beat, the words hung in the air. Natalie forced a laugh, though it sounded hollow. "I'm not sure I understand," she replied, feigning ignorance. Alicia met her gaze with a calm, unwavering look. "Let's just say first impressions can reveal a lot about a place and the people who run it." Keanu placed a reassuring hand on Alicia's shoulder as if to say, "You've said enough." He glanced at Natalie, his expression polite but firm. "Thank you for the assistance. We'll be heading out now." Natalie managed a respectful nod. "Of course. Have a wonderful day." They made their way to the exit. Several of the boutique's staff discreetly watched as the couple left, no one daring to openly acknowledge the tension. As soon as the doors shut, Diana turned to Natalie. "That was intense," she whispered. Natalie gave a tight nod. "Let's just focus on the rest of the day," she said, then retreated to her office, feeling drained. Seated at her polished desk, Natalie tried to concentrate on inventory reports, but her thoughts kept replaying Alicia's parting words. Something about them sounded like a quiet rebuke. "Sometimes it's good to see how people react when they're unsure if you belong." The line echoed in Natalie's mind, and with it came the shame of realizing she'd been caught judging someone solely by appearances. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down to see a text from the boutique's owner, who rarely contacted her directly unless something major had happened. The message read, "Heard Keanu Reeves was in the store. Great job making that sale. But I also heard rumors that the initial interaction with his companion wasn't the warmest. We need to ensure PR doesn't get messy. Call me when you can." Natalie felt a chill creeping up her spine. How had word spread so fast? Perhaps a customer had posted something online, maybe a quick social media clip or a gossipy anecdote. In the age of smartphones, even the slightest slip could become public. She dialed the owner, dread coiling in her stomach. He picked up almost immediately. "Natalie," came his crisp voice. "I trust everything turned out well with Mr. Reeves and his companion?" She swallowed. "Yes, they ended up making a purchase. A small one, but still." There was a pause on the other end. "That's good. But I keep hearing about a rough start. Did something happen that might tarnish our image?" Natalie tried to sound composed. "There was a misunderstanding at first, but I managed it. The customer was not dressed in a way we typically see, and I was just being protective of the boutique standards." She cringed at her own words, hearing how snobbish they sounded. Her boss let out a sigh. "Natalie, you know how crucial the public's perception is. If it looks like we discriminate based on clothing or social status, that can backfire. Especially when a celebrity is involved." "I understand," she murmured. "I'll do damage control if needed. I'm sure we can address any negative impression before it escalates." The owner's voice softened just a fraction. "Look, you're one of the best managers I've had. Just remember that we're about selling an experience, not excluding people. If a scandal erupts, it won't matter how many years you've run that place with an iron hand. Understand?" "Yes, absolutely," Natalie managed, her throat tight. "I'll handle it." They exchanged polite farewells, but the conversation left Natalie feeling hollow. She stared at the silent phone for a moment, then placed it face down on her desk. She thought back to how Alicia had initially been treated. The memory stung. The insinuations, the subtle put-downs. In trying to defend the boutique's atmosphere, she might have undermined the very essence of hospitality and respect that high-end clients expected. "What have I done?" Natalie whispered to herself. For the rest of the afternoon, she found it hard to focus. The store bustled with its usual clientele, some truly wealthy, some aspiring to that lifestyle. Yet each time a new face walked in, Natalie couldn't help scanning them, wondering if she was making the same mistake again. It was a sobering realization. In her pursuit of exclusivity, she might have lost sight of basic decency. As closing time approached, Natalie caught a glimpse of her reflection in one of the boutique's ornate mirrors. She looked poised, professional, and impeccably dressed. But her eyes betrayed a swirl of self-doubt. The day had started with her usual confidence and ended in a mixture of relief and anxiety. She had made a sale to Alicia, but the cost might be steeper than she'd ever anticipated. The next few days passed in a blur of routine tasks and silent tension. Natalie closely monitored social media and local news, half expecting a story to pop up about the boutique that turned away Keanu Reeves' significant other. To her relief, no major scandal erupted, at least not yet. But the experience left her uneasy, as though she was tiptoeing around a ticking time bomb. Inside the store, subtle changes took hold. Diana, emboldened by what she'd witnessed, began greeting everyone with extra warmth, refusing to judge them by outward appearance alone. Other associates followed suit, picking up on the new vibe that every customer is potentially valuable. Natalie watched them, feeling both pleased at their initiative and disconcerted by the fact that she hadn't championed this approach herself sooner. Occasionally, she'd catch staff members exchanging knowing glances, as though they all shared a secret. In truth, the secret was out in the open. Their manager had nearly blown it with a high-profile client by making snap judgments. The staff seemed to treat her with a mix of caution and empathy, as if they sensed she was grappling with regret. One quiet afternoon, while reviewing paperwork in her office, Natalie came across an old photo pinned to a file folder. It was her years ago, sporting a simple dress, standing outside a fancy boutique window. She remembered that moment vividly. She'd been a student with modest savings, dreaming of the day she could afford the glamorous world inside that window. Looking at her younger self, she felt a pang of shame. She had once been the type of person she now turned away without a second thought. She set the photo aside and made a decision. Rising from her chair, she walked into the main area of the store. Diana was helping a customer pick out a scarf, and a couple of other associates were rearranging displays. "Everyone," Natalie called softly, but loud enough for them to pause and listen. "Can we gather for a brief moment?" They congregated near the counter, exchanging curious looks. Natalie took a breath. "I want to talk about what happened last week," she began. Some associates glanced at each other apprehensively. "You all know Keanu Reeves came in with a companion named Alicia, who didn't look like our usual clientele. She hesitated, exhaling. "I acted in a way that may have made her feel unwelcome at first." Diana lowered her gaze, likely recalling the awkward scene. Another staff member, Sam, shifted on his feet. No one spoke. Natalie continued. "I realize now that I've been conflating exclusivity with exclusion. In trying to protect the brand, I forgot that respect should be at the core of everything we do. That means treating every visitor with genuine warmth, regardless of how they look. I wanted to apologize to all of you for the example I set." A moment of stunned silence followed. Finally, Diana stepped forward. "Natalie," she said softly, "thank you for saying that. We love working here, but sometimes it felt like we had to judge people too quickly, you know?" Natalie nodded, relief trickling into her posture. "Yes, and that needs to change. We can still offer a luxurious experience without belittling anyone. Let's shift the focus to showing the uniqueness of our products in a welcoming way." She paused, then added more quietly, "I don't want any customer to feel like Alicia did, like they're being sized up the second they walk in." The staff exchanged supportive smiles. A subtle wave of unity seemed to pass among them. It wasn't that they had been unkind people all along, but Natalie's rigid standards had shaped their behavior. Now, with her lead, they could recalibrate. Sam piped up, "How do we start?" Natalie offered a small smile. "Let's discuss our approach to greeting customers, our assumptions, and how we talk about exclusivity. I want each of you to share ideas." They spent the next half-hour brainstorming. Some of the suggestions ranged from practical changes, like offering a warm welcome script that didn't sound snobby, to deeper mindset shifts, such as focusing on a customer's interests rather than their outward appearance. By the end of the impromptu meeting, Natalie felt a sense of hope, as though the heavy cloak of snobbery had been lifted, replaced by genuine enthusiasm for creating a refined yet inclusive environment. As closing time approached that day, Natalie lingered after everyone else had left. She walked through the boutique aisles, seeing it with a fresh perspective. Beneath the designer labels and crystal chandeliers, it could be a place of aspiration and delight for anyone who walked in the door, not just those who met her old standards of deserving. She paused by a display of sleek handbags, the same area where Alicia had first been browsing. Her mind conjured the image of Alicia's calm face, her unwavering confidence, and those words. Sometimes it's good to see how people react when they're unsure if you belong. A bittersweet smile touched Natalie's lips. She had learned a lesson the hard way, and in doing so, she might have found a better path forward. Natalie's transformation didn't happen overnight, but the spark lit by Alicia's visit and Keanu Reeves' subtle yet firm disapproval was enough to reshape her entire perspective. The boutique gradually became less about gatekeeping and more about sharing the beauty of its luxury items with anyone who walked through the door. Staff members adapted quickly, finding renewed joy in making customers feel appreciated rather than judged. Word spread among loyal patrons that the store's vibe had shifted, becoming more welcoming without losing its trademark elegance. Even the boutique's owner noticed improved sales and fewer complaints, clear indicators that the change in approach was good for business as well as reputation. Diana and other associates felt a greater sense of purpose, relieved that they no longer had to size up clients on site. As for Natalie, she learned that exclusivity doesn't have to mean excluding. True luxury, she realized, lies in the warmth of human connection. Alicia's quiet composure had opened her eyes to the harm of snap judgments, and Keanu's presence had underscored the fragility of the store's public image. In the end, the boutique became a better place because of one simple truth: respect is universal currency. These days, Natalie keeps that old photo of her younger self on her desk, reminding her of a time when she was just another dreamer on the outside looking in. Now, she strives to offer the dream to everyone who enters. A single visit had changed her, proving that the greatest transformations often come from recognizing the value of every individual who crosses our path.